Hi everybody, I'm Zen, and I'm here to talk to you about the setup and operation and rebuilding of the Zen line of Z-Atty rebuildable atomizers. I'd like to first thank you for purchasing the product, because without folks like you, none of this would be possible. And I want to try to get you up and running as quickly and as easily as possible, because it's very exciting when you get a new device and you're anxious to get it up and running, and usually haste makes waste. And in this particular case, I think it's really important that you take a little time, slow down, and see what the procedure is, because a lot of people will want to jump right in, get juice in there, and get it going. And that's really not the best thing that you could possibly do. It's better to slow down, understand how the device goes together and how it works, and get that coil adjusted properly before you actually put juice in the tank and get running. So let's get started. So let's take a look at what comes in your kit. Your Z-Atty-Pro, Z-Atty-U, and Z-Atty-G all come with your Allen wrenches, 6 325 by 325 stainless steel meshes, which are already pre-oxidized and ready to use, 6 400 by 400 stainless steel meshes, which are ready to go as well, one of which is already installed in the device, an 18 gauge blunt syringe needle, a fresh syringe, as well as about 25 feet of 32 gauge Menthol wire. Now, most people want to jump right in and have a vape, but I'd like to suggest that you don't do that. What you should do is take your ProVari and bring it down to 3.3 volts and start with your ProVari setup right there. Now we're going to go ahead and mount this on here, and before you put juice in it, before you do anything else, this should be your first step. Give that coil a dry burn. What we're going to do is we're going to press the button, we're going to run it, and we're going to see if it lights up a little bit at 3.3 volts, and it's really not doing it, it's just getting started. So from there, we're going to bring your power up. But we're just priming our way up. So we're going to bring it up to 3.5, and this is only on your first initial setup each time you put a coil on it. Now we've dimmed the lights a little bit here so you can see the coils burning better and lighting up. And you'll see that it's just starting to glow there, and we don't have them all lit entirely, but I'll show you how to deal with that. I'm going to now bring the voltage up just a little more. I'm going to take it up to about 3.6, 3.7 volts. And let's go ahead and bring that up. So we're going to fire that. It's going to start to glow, start to glow, start to glow. And you'll notice that towards the bottom there, that bottom coil is not quite glowing all the way. So what we're going to do is adjust that coil using the blunt tip of your syringe. And it's okay, we're going to do this while you're firing. That's perfectly okay. And we're just going to adjust that bottom one that's not quite glowing, and we'll poke at the mesh a little bit and just move it, and you'll see how we can just gently prod that into shape. And now it's starting to glow as well. We just hit the cutoff, I think one more quick time, and we'll be good to go here. And just kind of prod at it, we'll be okay. So it's not quite in, there we go. Now you'll notice that it's very easy to move the coils while they're glowing. It's a little trickier when they're cold. So, and that's what we're after, just a nice steady glow all the way across it, more or less even. So now we're just going to fire it. They're all going to come up. We're looking good there. At this point, you can go ahead and fill your tank. Now, your Z-Atty will hold 4 milliliters of juice, but when you're first using it, I'd like to suggest that you only fill it about 3/4 of the way until the wick gets a little bit more broken in. When you fill this all the way up, there's no airspace in there to relieve tension as it's wicking. So to help get it wicking initially, we're going to go ahead and leave that airspace in there. Now, again, we're not going to fire this up yet. I'm going to tip it down and let the juice come down the wick until it's just ready to drop off. and then we're going to fire it. And you'll notice it's coming up slowly, and this is a good time for us to raise our voltage to get a little bit more power in it. So I'm going to bring this up to 4 volts now. And we're going to fire it up, and there she goes. Now you'll notice if I just hold this here and run it, it stops and dries right out, and the coil will slowly but surely start to glow. It's hard to see with the bright lights, but that's okay, you don't really need to see that. And we went right up until the cutoff. And I'm going to tip it down again until I can see the juice showing there. That shows you that it is in fact transmitting juice, and it will wick. And we're going to go ahead and run that a little bit more. And since I wanted to go just even a little bit more ferocious than that, we're going to kick it up to like 4.2 volts. Now you'll notice that I've ramped this up slowly as opposed to just saying, geez, I like it at 4.5 volts and cranking it and popping the coil. We're being gentle because each time you fire this, it's oxidizing the coil and the wick a little bit more than it was when you started. Now I want to assure you that it is as simple as just poking and prodding at that to get it going, and every coil is a good coil. They can all be adjusted until they're firing correctly. And if you get frustrated and feel the need to just tear that coil off of there and start over again, don't do that. Work with the coil that you've got, because you'll be starting over if you take that out, and you will eventually get it. Now, you saw how quickly it can be done. When you're first getting started, it may take you a little bit more time than that. But it should be a simple matter of just gently prodding at it until it's all glowing evenly, and you want to do that before you put juice in it, because once there's juice in it, it prevents it from glowing evenly from top to bottom, because the juice down here is preventing it from getting up. Now once your coil is set up, that's it. You don't have to play with it anymore. You don't have to fidget with it. It's set up and ready to go, and each time you fire it, it's going to be getting better and better and better, because it's going to start oxidizing more and more, the coil itself. So we're all set up, we're ready to go. When we push the button, vapor comes out, so it's time to put on the top cap. Now there's a hole on the top cap, that's the air hole, and what you want to do initially is line that hole up with the wick. So when it goes on, it's in a straight line with the wick. Slight adjustments to the left or right will give you an increase in throat hit and a slight decrease in vapor. Dramatic increases to the left or right will give you dramatic increase in throat hit and a dramatic decrease in vapor. So to get you going, start with it at maximum vapor, lined up with the wick. Now you'll notice I took a fairly slow and deliberate pull on that. If you can hear it whistling, you're pulling a little too hard. This atomizer has an open draw. Some people have said it's the most open that they've tried yet. Others have said it needs to be opened up more. So I think we've struck a middle ground, if not a little open, but it really gives prodigious vapor output with this particular size air hole. So slow down and relax so you can enjoy the vapor. Now you'll notice that I'm tipping the device. That increases the wicking, but also notice that the wick is at the bottom, fully submerged in the juice. That increases the ability for the wick to get the juice there, especially in its initial break-in period. Over time, you might find yourself tipping it down, but I think you might get used to vaping it in this position. Just a nice, easy, gentle draw. People have said, you know, it really lends itself to a direct lung hit. I tend to puff more like a pipe or a cigar. But you feel free to use it however you feel best using it. The key here is slow down and take a slower, more deliberate draw. So you've got a tank full of juice and you'd like to remove it so that you can either clean it or change juice flavors. It's really a simple matter of giving it a tip, inserting your syringe so that the tip of it's down towards the bottom of the tank, and slowly extract the juice. And we take that out and most of the juice is out of there. To remove the tank, a lot of people just want to push up on it and hit there, but it's going to hit the top O-ring and stop. That's designed so that sliding it up by mistake won't make all the juice come out of the tank. So that needs to come out first. And to do that, you give it a squeeze, put your thumb up under the O-ring, and simply take it over the top. To remove the tank, hold the base of the device, slide the tank up while turning, and it'll come right off. Reassembly is the reverse. When it's time to make a new coil, first you have to select which wick you're going to use. And there's a few guidelines for making that choice. The 400 by 400 has a bit less throat hit than the 325 by 325. So on high VG juices which have less throat hit, you may want to select the 325 by 325. On high PG juices which have got very, very strong throat hit, you may wish to choose the 400 by 400. You will hear people say that the 400 by 400 wicks better with PG and the 325 by 325 wicks better with VG. That is incorrect. They both wick equally well. You're making a choice on how much throat hit you want. Now to put a new coil on here, you want to start by loosening your screws so that you have some space for your wire to get into. To prepare your Kanthal for making your coil, you're going to want to unwrap it from whatever you have it wrapped on. In this case it's a card. In some cases it will show up wrapped around the syringe. Either way is fine. And you're going to take off 6 or 8 inches and not cut it from your spool. That way you can make your coil and leave the remainder on there for future use. This way we're not wasting a lot of wire. Then we're going to take our length of wire, we're going to bring it down between the screw and the base and tighten that down. Now you've noticed I've got it going clockwise around that screw. And then I'm going to take this and just give it a little action and it'll come right off. Next I'm going to take the wire and start rotating the device, holding even and steady tension on the wire until we get up here at the top. Now we're going to go counterclockwise, which is also counterintuitive, around the screw. We're going to tighten it down. And from there we're going to jiggle our wire. Next we're going to take our ProVari back down to 3.3 volts where we started with the fresh one. We're going to mount the device and we're going to fire the coil. Now you'll notice there's still some juice on there, so we're going to want to burn that off of that. And you will notice that we now have a hot spot. So now we have a hot spot, which is inevitable. You're going to get those on occasion. So what I'm going to do is, by pulsing the device, you'll see that it's glowing and not glowing, glowing and not glowing. I'm gently prodding it to get each of these coils back in the game. Now with the ProVari, it has protection. If you prod it a little too hard, it'll just simply error out and give you an E1 message. That's nothing to worry about. If by chance you hit the ground to that, it will error out. Again, don't worry about that. And if you get one that's being really persistent, try give it a slight bit more voltage. We are at the very bottom of the range here. I'm going to bring it up to 3.5 and give that a try. And there we go. And that's the procedure to bring your new coil up. From here, simply do the same procedure that you did when you first got the device. Put the juice in the tank, fill it to 3/4. We tip it down to get it wicking, and we give it a fire. Now I'd like to mention that while I was adjusting the coil, I also took note to make sure that the mesh was not touching the bottom, nor was it touching the top screw. It has to run clear through there without touching either of those areas. That would create a short circuit. And she's ready to go. Put the top cap back on, line the hole up with a wick, and you're good to go. Now, a lot of people have found that they feel the need to cut down on their nicotine level when using this device. That's because it's very, very efficient in the way it vaporizes your liquid, and many people cut their nicotine level fully in half. So that's it. These were the instructions for the Z-Atty line of atomizers, including setup, tank removal, coil rebuilding, and general operating procedures. I want to reassure you that you can find a written version of these instructions at www.houseofhybrids.com/instructions. And once again, I'd like to thank you for purchasing the device, and I hope it gives you a long life of service. Thanks so much, and vape proud.